one. So no, I can shake you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, I greet you. You are welcome to AFRIFF. You know what is AFRIFF? Anyway, you're welcome. All right, so we'll start off allowing our panelists to speak and tell us, speak more on their fields, and then we take your questions afterwards. Is that cool? That's good. All right. So we'll start off with. Dr. Obiasika. The next to me, so yes, please tell us what's your, what you've done, what you're into, and how.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm just happy to be here, and happy to be here on this panel with my colleagues, especially with Max and Africa Magic. I think the first thing I'd like to say is I'm a storyteller, right? And I'm privileged in the fact that we've told stories through my films. We're most closely associated with music, but even though we did music, we were always telling stories. So we were producing, and I was happy to bring Big Brother Nigeria to Nigeria in 2006, and I was working, of course, with Mnet. Did The Apprentice Africa, Dragon's Den Nigeria, created formats in Ghana, and did those as well. So I've done reality television for at least 15 years. Did the biggest shows, but also, most importantly, just completed this year a feature documentary series, which is something I wanted to do forever with Showmax, called The Journey of the Beats, which is the untold story. The untold story of the journey of Nigerian music and the personalities behind it, which is something that I think I did it as a bed to really enable us to unlock the dramas, the sitcoms, the specials that lie within that story. And I love the fact we did it with Showmax and Africa Magic, because really they were the beginning of everything that's happening here now.
Woo! Thank you very much. So basically our conversation is with Showmax and Africa Magic. And then we're bringing up the jewel within us, as our organizers said. Okay, so I will let the next speaker, introduce herself. Well, please take notes of, him, what he said, and the questions you need to ask him, and the things, what he has done with Showmax. All right, please,
So for me, I basically grew up creating TV from when I was a child, because I was always on TV, my dad was on TV. But primarily, multi-choice is a big part of why I am in the TV business at all. Because, coming out of uni, we always knew I was going to be a producer. But watching DSTV, I would see this material that was always really well made. And I'd say to myself, well, there's MTV, there's all of these guys, but I want to work with these guys who are making these good type of content. And so very early on, moved to Lagos, and I got the opportunity to work with multi-choice very early in my career. And I really credit a lot of the headway I've made to that opportunity, because I got to work with people like Sanchez at the time. And he was already an established writer, so being in the writer's room with people like that was really a leg up that money really can't even pay for. And so from there on, we got to work with the 10 cells. If you ever saw Channel 53 Extra, I wrote and produced things at the time. If you ever saw the Friday show, if you ever saw the Big Friday show with Basket Mouth, I wrote, produced and directed that for a very long time before he did. And went on to do all of these other things. However, because at my core, feature documentaries like what I grew up on. My dad and I used to film them. And so for me, I really just wanted to work in a space that allowed me to explore stories in a way that was not necessarily scripted. And so going to work for Discovery was a huge opportunity that I really latched onto.
We pitched to also over a year to Showmax. The process was amazing. It took us through proper script development. The first time we actually went to something like that, we connected our writers with a couple of international writers. They showed us, many of you are probably producers and you've done different kind of shows, but at this level, they basically dissect your script. There was a lot of knowledge transfer in terms of our writers were taking through through an international process where, you know, even your character circles, your character graph and everything it's just, at the end of the process, like our writers, they basically came to us and said, it was almost like we had a master class. We just went for a master's. Our sound guys, they basically, in fact, the way they've been praising us, and I said, it's not us, it's showman. Because the amount of knowledge that we've acquired during this process, I don't even know how I can express it, but basically what I'm trying to say is at this level, it's a different, you know, so I'm just super excited and I can't wait for you guys to see. I tell that I'm super excited.
Exciting, yes. I'm sure it's a good one. All right, please, Busala.
Good afternoon, everyone. Always a pleasure to be at AFRIFF, and thank you for this creation of everyone around the world, different networks, different producers. I know that everyone leaves here with something, one, opportunities, two, learnings, and three, just visibility and awareness of what's going on in the industry. So thank you very much for putting this together. At MultiChoice, it's great to hear the diverse opinions and perspectives of the different producers sitting here. In some way or the other, some have produced for Showmax and some for Africa Magic, but it's all under the MultiChoice brand. And that is what we do at MultiChoice. So apart from being a subscriber management company that is a platform, has premium content, international and local, I will speak mainly to the local content. For local, what we do in the industry is one, upskill. You can't have great content without really upskilling the industry.
Right.
And so it goes beyond what we put on TV. It goes beyond just making content and people watching. It's also what's the longevity of what we're doing, it's the sustainability of the industry. We are almost 30 years. In this business, we have been producing, developing, and investing in the economy for almost 30 years. So we are almost as old as Nollywood, or about the same age as Nollywood. And so we can't speak about the evolution of the industry without speaking of MultiChoice. We are deeply ingrained in the industry because that's how we thrive. Right, so one, upskilling, and Tola, thanks for that feedback. When you're doing things that you do normally, it's good to hear this feedback and know how much value that the companies or the production companies get from them. So we are doing it because that's our ethos, that's what we usually do, but it's great to hear your feedback, especially with your crew. They will go on and form their own company, sorry to say that, but it's the truth. but that is the truth, and that is what we want.
All right, so Mr. Victor.
Busala has said almost everything I would have had to say about the company, so I'm going to speak personally. Last year at AFRIFF, and this is funny, last year at AFRIFF, I was on the other side of this panel. Like I was sitting somewhere in the crowd watching the panel.
Was that by choice?
Yeah, I didn't work here at the time. But what's interesting about it is, if I want to trace back, and it's really bittersweet for me because I sort of have a relationship with everybody on this panel before any of all this. And it's great that Showmax has brought us all together. Del, I've known forever. But what's interesting is I left Benin, where I was born and raised, in 2003 because I saw a newspaper article that announced a show called Doctor's Quarters. And it was going to be on MultiChoice. And I took money from my mom and I left Benin and I never went back. And some people know my story, some people don't. I was homeless in Lagos for a while. I was like, I'm not going home without doing this thing. And my entire bucket list was I wanted to see my name written and directed by on the MultiChoice project. And the fact that I'm sitting here now is a bit surreal, but the fact that I'm sitting here with people who I met along the way in different is crazy. I used to be a producer, I still am a producer, but And this is the upskilling conversation that we're having. A lot of the things that made me who I became and built my company, I learned while I was at MultiChoice, right? When I said at MultiChoice, I mean working on projects for MultiChoice, and I stayed a long part of my career just doing commission work because I admired the structure, but also the upskilling. So my entire drive right now, and what I'm really happy that the platform is committed to, is that upskilling. It's the idea that, much like the interesting name of this panel, it's much like there's the diamonds in the business, but you have to dig for it, right? And people enjoy seeing the end result, but don't seem to enjoy the process. So my whole thing is I'm committed to the process, I'm the background guy. But the job is to dig. So I'm really excited about the one line she had there, which is the people who don't even know they're producers yet. Because I'm flashing back to me 19 years ago, and people who helped me along the way. And I'm like, all right, fine, it's our turn to give back and build an industry.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm sure you're eager to start, firing your questions, find out how to pitch your content, and then ask them, how you can get in and tap into this. But before we do that, I'd like you to watch a video, and when we come back, we'll get all the questions.
Thank you for
Silence, please.
all you've done, MultiChoice, Africa Magic. But what I just want to say here is that it seems intentional, or maybe we're rash judging you, but it seems that for the longest time you've always sidetracked animation. I work in animation, several of us are here. In the trailer you showed us, we didn't see no animation, anything. Okay, you mentioned about the JJ Okocha thing. We should have seen part of it. AMVCA for years, I've been since 2015, been writing, calling people. There is no animation category. Earlier today, I organized a screening with AFRIFF for children. School kids came, they keep cutting us off. We can only watch things on Africa Magic until we are 13. What happens to 0 from to that time? So here it's great, we are very happy with all what you are doing, but what are you going to do with respect to animation? Because a lot is happening internationally. I'm sure you all know about Iwaju, like Disney and Kugali. I'm working on that project. We're going to make money for a Brodian company. Why can't we keep the money here? You understand? There are a lot of international projects going on held by Nigeria. So what's the way forward?
That's some violence now. So if you're ready, should we take the answer?
Such passion. I love the passion, and I think the passion, we'll take you forward. But to answer your question, we believe in sustainability. We don't believe in flashes in the pan. And so 1 minute someone does something, and then the next minute we're not sure what it is. And as you know, the industry evolves, right? So yes, we've nailed it down with dramas and series and all of that, but we are looking at animation. And we will not have a knee-jerk reaction to everythth you've mentioned. They're great. We do have a JJ animation series. The reason why you haven't seen it there, because of the timelines. If the trailer isn't ready, it's not ready. But I needed to mention it so that you would know what is in the works, and so that you would know that we are playing in that segment as well. We are taking a very close look at the kids segment. It is an underserved segment of the market. In the past, everything you've said is over the last few years. There have been people who have done things here and there, 2 minutes here, 1 minute there, 5 minutes. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot to do animation, to put out an episode, a 20 or 30 minute episode of an animated series. Talk less of 13 episodes. If I said now, do we have any local company who can sustain producing an animated series for kids? Now, of what benefit is it to have one producer for a channel? Forgetting that once you open a channel, you have to fill it with content. So we need to see that pipeline, and that pipeline is developing. and we will continue to invest in it to develop it further. Is that the only thing we are focusing on? Absolutely not. Are we playing in that segment? Yes, we are. Will we continue to play in it? Yes, and at some point we will accelerate, but again, it has to be sustainable. We need to see, look, before Africa Magic Igbo started, obviously there have been the movies in the industry, Asaba, there have been all those movies, but we needed to see a clear pipeline. You cannot start a channel without a pipeline, without making sure that that segment is actually ready to fit the demand. The minute you open that gate, you can't shut it. So we need to be able to fill that demand. So there's you, and there's the lady here. There is a handful of people, a handful of producers who at best will produce maybe one or two. We are speaking with some. There's a lot on YouTube for the different classes and ages. So we are speaking with, a few producers. But again, we will take it in steps until we are sure we have a viable pipeline, until we are sure that the industry is really ready to produce and cater to the demand that will come from it. So no, we're not shying away from it. We never shy away from things like that or from challenge. But I think and I agree with you, one thing we're agreeing on is an underserved segment. Our kids have gone from 13 to 21 in terms of content. I'm putting it back to producers. We need producers who would actually play in that segment. How many producers here, or even in the industry, actually focus on kids' content, local content?
Not being encouraged, you're not encouraging.
The minute you see, so looking for.
You need to encourage, you need to support.
Did you listen to her? They can't put on just one content out.
It's not about one content, madam.
So we will continue to monitor that segment and invest in it till we have enough to start a channel or to create blogs for them.
Ms. Busola, so in the meantime, what work do you have for them? What should they be doing in the meantime?
Look, it's not a job for one network. It is an industry. It goes beyond one network or one person, right? And we'll continue to look at the content that is available.
So they should continue putting out their work.
Like I mentioned, we are speaking in discussions with different producers, to even see, have a visibility study and see what content exists and how much content hours exist in that segment before we start playing the game.
I'm here.
Sorry if I'm stepping on anyone's question. I'm going to have to address this. Hi, what's your name?
Are you talking about me?
Yes, ma'am.
I live in Fairhaven, boys.
Hi, my name is Victor. Nice to meet you. Here's what's happening. Have we received a pitch from you before? Cool, that's awesome. Now we made a connection. Hold on. Now we have.
Calm down, Auntie. Relax.
I understand your frustration, and I understand that people sitting on the panel are an easy target for it. But let me explain. You have solid points that I completely agree with. There is not one single thing you said that is a lie. Not one. Right? So the feedback is here. We're talking about kiddies content. When you say kiddies content, are you talking about a series?
Yes.
Yes.
Content across the board.
I get it.
Live action, whether
I'm asking, hold on, yes? Right. When you say animation, right? Feature films,
I'm just giving an example.
I get you completely.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you, right? So it's telling me the same courtesy, right? So, the last one on your list, that's where you start. Right? Because she said it's hard to sustain the output if it's a series. Did you hear that? Do you agree or do you disagree? Awesome. Which means it's possible, therefore, to instead of trying to do that many, you collaborate, right? And do one strong film. Does that make any sense? You said encourage and give you ways. I'm giving you ways.
Thank you, but what I'm saying
Oh God.
Let us speak. Come on, let us speak.
is
Let us speak.
we can't into animation. We all know how long animation is. You understand? I hear you. I hear what you've said, and many of us are here working in animation. We just also want to know the way forward, because I'm not speaking in vacuum. I've sent emails, I've called people. So if we know, okay, what is the way, if we want to start having this conversation, because children are asking for this thing.
So sometimes the solutions you're looking for will not come from one source. So like Busola has rightly said, this is something that has to be taken on from an industry perspective. Now while that's going on, I'll tell you what, there's some conversations going on with, I know for sure, Epic, the Unreal Engine guys, and 3D Unity. If you are already working on that Disney project, I would say put your ducks in a row. Make sure you have something that's brief that you can show, because over the next, between a year to 18 months, the Unreal Engine guys from Epic, the guys who designed Fortnite, they have something for Africa, and there's a fund that's close to $3 million or something. So look outside of Nigeria, and if you get the opportunity to go and do those type of things there, and it's funded, you come back with all of that knowledge and share it.
How true and how can we really go through the process of getting these things? Because it really is easy here. We're seeing you face to face now. It's such an opportunity. But once you're off,
How would you like it to be?
Hi. Hi. Sorry. What's your name? Manuel. Awesome. Okay. So, I'm going to step outside this panel for a little bit. How many other places have you been to? Right. The same thing you sent to us, and I'm not defending us, please. I said I'm stepping out this panel. How many other people have you pitched that to?
and people.
Please understand, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah.
So, all these places that you pitched to, did any of them pick it up?
Well, some were interested, but along the line,
So nobody picked it up, right?
COVID and all of that is.
Okay. If any of them, did any of them give you feedback as to why they didn't pick it up? Okay. Because I've been doing this for 25 years. I've pitched 693 pitches. Out of 693, I've gotten 13 picked up. So we know the game, right? Right? You know how this works. It's don't call us, we'll call you. Now, not saying that that's the optimal method. And we are trying to update that. That's why we have a separate portal now for acquisition, separate portal. We are in the process. Everyone here has an older sibling older than Nollywood. We keep saying things like, you know, we're going to get to Hollywood. Hollywood is 200 or something years old. I'm not saying that's the reason why it's the way it is, but fact of, right? We're still moving, right? All of us keep talking about, like, we all have, some of us are older than Hollywood, right? We are in the process, and it's feedback like this that allows us to improve the process. I'm speaking to you this week because I've been in your shoes, you know what I mean? Same pitch after pitch. So I completely get it. We are improving our processes on our end, but there is there is a nice thing you have in your head. Not you, I'm saying you get it after a while. And what breeds a lot of this discontent is you start to question yourself, right? Is it that the stuff isn't good because nobody's buying, right? But please understand that the project is being evaluated, not your abilities, not you. It may just not be this one, right? So you take that, all it out, and you come back harder. This is just me talking to you, I'm setting out the power. You understand what I'm saying? But yes, we can do better than you. How are we on this? Alright?
I was just going to say that, you know, it's funny because people only see the success. They don't see the failure. Every single person here has failed many times. We failed many times. My documentary was not going to happen. It wasn't going to work properly if Victor didn't get involved at the time that he got involved. So you have to know, you have to be able to park your ego and say, you know what, this guy's right. And part of the problem with Nigerians, I think a lot of Nigerians have never really done self-critique. Right? It's all well and good saying I developed this, I did that. That's great. You got to get somebody who is real with you, who is not your friend, to tell you if it's any good. Because to you it might be wonderful. To to a third party, it might be a complete disaster. And that's just real. Yeah? Because before you step to the actual pitch, check. It's like, is anything in life, check with the guy next to you. Hey, am I okay? Do I look funny pitching this thing? Or is this thing actually making sense? And if you can, the most important thing is find collaborators. Find somebody who has produced something and being commissioned. Find a director, somebody who has experience, because they will be able to help you.
Obi exposed me, so I exposed him. Just to give you encouragement. So you understand that this is encouragement, sorry. Yeah? Obi and I have been now seeing each other like how many years?
Say what?
We spent almost a year developing a project.
Yeah.
Didn't do any. A full year. I talked to this man throughout the day.
Every day.
Every day. Guy, I started pricing house in Lekki. I sure said, no, he don't sit. Nothing. I didn't get it. Did you get an email?
No.
I think they called me to call you, or they called me to call you.
And you know, I mean, this is 100% true, and it's one of the biggest brands in the world.
Coming from someone.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest brands in the world. There are no freebies. You know, I haven't been sitting in my house and somebody called me and gave me anything ever. I'm still waiting for that wonderful day, so feel free.
I think to also encourage you, some ideas are ahead of their time. So,
I was going to speak to the right time. So there's no horrible content. Some are downright horrible, but there's no horrible content. Sometimes it's just the right time. So if you pitch something 2 years ago, you might have been ahead of the curve. Pitch it again now, you might be at the right time.
Don't give up.
So my name is Tola Odusi. I'm a filmmaker. From the last session, I actually hope a lot of filmmakers are encouraged rather than discouraged, and understand the fact that, you know, this is a business of external validation. So whatever content they produce is going to be judged by others, and you know, it's a business. You can't create content for yourself. Anything you make is for other people. So don't take no for an answer. Keep going to get to where you want to be.
I think the first thing for me is for people to understand that it's not easy, right? There are no freebies. You got to work hard. You got to keep going. You got to be consistent. And if you keep doing all those things, then you have an opportunity. The biggest platforms are all here, but I was happy to do this platform with Showmax and MultiChoice, because really they are the pioneers of our story. They're the ones that have invested first, and everybody else investing is following them. So yeah.
I think that I hope people take a lot away from the session. I mean, we had about 6 people on the panel from different productions, different years of experience. I think within us we'll have over 100 years of experience sitting there together. And so I'm hoping that everyone got something, you know, that is valuable to them. But I mean, one key thing that I think went through, you know, the panel was, one, being consistent. 2, your pitch might not get picked up the first time. Your content might not get licensed the first time. And this is globally, not just African Magic or Showmax or Nigeria. So remain consistent, keep at it, keep putting in the work, and collaborate.
AFRIFF is very important because it celebrates us. You know, it celebrates our own, you know, content, you know, culture, you know, and so it's just a platform to help filmmakers network, get to meet themselves, collaborate, which is very important, especially now. And of course, the theme for this year's AFRIFF is Indigenous for Global. So we must be first indigenous to be able to sell, you know, what we have to the global community, because nobody can do it like us.
You're a filmmaker. Yes, we are a filmmaker, and I've got a film that is screening here in Cinema 5 and Cinema 2 at 6 p.m. tonight. I'm really excited. It's about...
What's the title?
The title is IEZA, Medicine Biopiracy. And it's about how pharmaceutical industry take indigenous medicine, they patent the medicine, So meaning they register it as if it's their own. And so for 20 years, nobody else can use the recipes. And they make profits which they do not share with the indigenous sources that they got the medicine from.
And this is a true life event?
No, this is a screening of my film that I made.
Yes. Is the story a true life event or is it fictional?
It's a true life event. It's a documentary about how this is done in Africa in many different countries. They make patents from viruses that they find in the mud that Africans have been using for a long time to cure illnesses, and they use that to patent that and turn it into pills or powder or whatever.